Welcome, beautiful beings. It's Kristy here, and I am so excited to introduce you to Danielle Matthews. She has graciously agreed to come and talk with all of you because I've been watching a lot of her work from the health and wellness standpoint. And if you have listened to a lot of my videos, you'll know that, I've shared some of Danielle's, but I very much come from a similar angle of hers, really focusing on physical health, but also taking and making attention to that emotional aspect of it. So Danielle and I have come together over a product that has really propelled us forward, but we also had to do the emotional work. So we're going to share a lot of that with you today. First, one, I'd like to welcome you, Danielle.
Thank you, Kristy.
And two, I am hoping you can share a bit of your backstory because it has been an intriguing journey to get you here. And we're excited and commend you for all the health that you've discovered since.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. And I know the moment I met you, it's like this incredible redox technology brought us together. And I met you and I went, oh, this woman, like we are in such alignment on so many ways. So I'm happy to be here. And just so everyone has a little bit of insight into my world and my journey, it was actually nearly 10 years ago exactly, I lost my health. I was hit by a drunk driver and sustained a brain injury. And so I was 23 years old at the time, and my life just went on a completely different track. I went from being, vibrant, healthy. I had studied biology at the University of Virginia. I've always loved how the body works. And all of a sudden, my body wasn't working. Kristy, as I shared with you, it was like I ended up having to stop work, move back in with my parents. And it was just this full-on focus on trying to get me healthy again. But I was struggling. I mean, I couldn't focus for extended periods. I was sensitive to any sort of input. It was just all super overwhelming, light noise. I was basically in bed, very dizzy, and had pounding in my head that just was relentless. And because of all of that, I felt like my life had ended. It's just, I had severe anxiety. I would have panic attacks. I went into a deep depression. It was just not a good situation. And doctors really didn't have answers. So it was a difficult time, but I also think, it's like these challenges that get put in front of us. I believe that my higher self, it's like set up an obstacle course this lifetime so that I could learn what was within me and the power that we have within and the power we have to overcome. And it took me a good year of kind of butting up against this injury, pushing, trying to get my life back until I finally just went, there's been new rules put on my life. Can I find happiness within this? And it was just this total perspective shift. And I went, all right, I can do that. And I stopped pushing. I sort of just released. I almost think about it's like, water that's going into a rock. Like it realizes it has to just flow around it. And that's what I started to do. And it was really meditation that opened me up to being able to quiet my mind, allow my body to rest, and allowed my emotional state to balance. It was like I found this sense of calm and peace within me. And it's interesting because once I got into that space, I started to attract in the answers to what was going to ultimately help my body repair and give me my health back. And so it's amazing, how one thing leads to the other.
It's so true. And I had to do similar in that it's funny, actually, I didn't even realize with all the times we have talked that I was about 10 years ago too. So the journey has, it's taken us different routes, but it was overcoming Lyme. And as much as recovery as I had uncovered, there was a point where I just knew I was going to always struggle with energy. And I would, much like you, it was sort of this bullheaded, I'm going to get better and move on with life. And you quickly learn that's really not how these things go, because there's other purposes, I guess, we're supposed to endure to sort of figure it all out. But it was when I started looking into like, what are all our sources of energy? How does our body make energy? Where do we get it from? More than just the, physical training kind of energy that we so often talk about. And it led me to this sort of inner perspective, this emotional, really understanding our nervous system And yeah, we both have a background in biology. So the nervous system, I'm like, okay, I can grasp this. Like I can grasp how I'm instructing my nervous system to work, but really realized it goes so much deeper. And I think sometimes I actually, even with ASEA, which we will eventually talk about, I've realized there's a point where you actually have to believe you can get healthy. Mm-hmm. Before maybe the right products come to you, or you find the right doctor, or you find the right path. Yeah. That if you don't believe it's possible, it's almost like all of your senses aren't even looking, or the answers might be right in front of you, but your senses aren't picking it up.
Right.
And I think we get so caught up in that I even got caught up in where I thought, okay, I'm 80% better, so I should just be happy being here. And this is as good as I can ever get. I'm very grateful that I even got here. You know, a lot of people with Lyme don't even get there. And so I realized that I was actually holding myself back from potential answers or looking for more answers. It's a tough line between having gratitude for where you are, but looking for and being open to something more. And did you find there was a part of that phase or process in your healing?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's interesting because I tried a lot. I kept trying to get what I needed to get my body to be able to rebuild and recover. And so I was constantly trying things. And at some point, kind of like you, I just went, you know what, maybe this is just what it is. And I just need to accept it. And I need to, move on as best as I can and stop trying to like push past this thing. And it's interesting because that was around that time that ASEA was brought into my world. And you talk about like it being right in front of your face. Like my mother purchased this from an acupuncturist because the woman thought that it could help and brought it home to me. And I couldn't have it. It's like I couldn't see it. I didn't even want to be cautiously optimistic that it could help because I had tried so many things up to that point and none of them were getting me over the hump. And I was like, well, maybe this is just what it's going to be, And so I had sort of resolved myself to just accept that. And I am so grateful that my parents, they used the ASEA technology. They were having all these results and they said, Danielle, no, we really think this is the missing link. And it was because of their insistence that like this thing, literally it sat at my house for 6 months, Kristy, before I touched it, did anything with it, paid attention. Cause I had reached this point where I just went, look, I've tried, I've done my best. Like, I'm just going to be grateful with what I have. The fact that I still have my, my physical body and I can, I can still concentrate a bit and I can still do things, not at the level nearly that I used to be able to, but I thought, you know what, I'll figure out how to live like this. And yeah. And the answer came in. So it's so interesting. It's like when you get yourself also to this state, I think of it like, it's like I accepted it, but also like, it was almost as if like once I released, the universe went, okay, there you go. Because I think I had for so long thought the answer is going to look a certain way. It's going to come in this way. Like this is what we're going to do it. And it was like, I was trying to force and push my agenda. And for whatever people's beliefs are, if it's God, spirit, the universe, like for me, I always say the universe, it's like, well, the universe was trying to work, but I was like almost working against it, trying to force a certain agenda. And then once I stepped back and went, okay, like this, I almost give up. Like I just released. Yep. Boom, here's the answer, Danielle. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh, okay, that's how this works. Got it.
It's so true when you say that, because I was literally at one time, when I was a lot sicker, but I was on 30 different prescriptions and supplements. It was ridiculous. You don't even know what's working anymore and what's not. But I was so closed-minded to another thing. I just said, and you're also, I think there's a huge fear of being disappointed. People often say to me, oh, well, it sounds too good to be true, right? So all of those things, I was totally shut down to even looking for something else. And I figured it was only me, like just, me. I've got to find the answer within me. And although that got me to a great place, I also think, like you say, it opened me up to the possibility of this new thing. What's really ironic with it all is I am on nothing else now.
Amazing. Same
So yeah, when you're so close-minded to adding another thing, but it's like you say, I couldn't even imagine that it could be something that would allow me to have less or,
Yes.
deal with less.
Just deal with less. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's true. The barriers we put up. I often teach about like, the beliefs and feelings you have about something. And so often we don't even realize what those beliefs are that we have that are holding us back, I think is the big one. And I think I've been talking a lot with people lately, and I also realize we've also we've sort of given up the idea of daring to dream. Even to put ourselves there, the disappointment from so many angles has sort of beaten us down, and we're afraid to even imagine a better life. And I know that the couple of people that I work with coaching that are sort of are dealing with chronic illnesses, they just don't even want to go there to the place where it might be a lot better, because the disappointment is a scary, scary feeling.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with that when you decided to give this a try?
Well, so let's share how this actually went down. So my parents had started using this technology. The acupuncturist had said to them, look, every client in my practice is having results with this. It's going in, it's stimulating cellular repair, it's helping them where they need it, and it's doing something different for everyone. And she said, I think it would pass the blood-brain barrier. Let's give it a try with Danielle. And, they just met with resistance from me, but my parents were using it and they had results. My mom, bone on bone in her hands, all of a sudden has full range of motion back in her hands, and her discomfort was down. You could actually see, they were huge and swollen. You could see this reduction. And that was just 6 weeks of using this. And I am like, it's got to be a placebo. Like, there's no way something could do that. Right. I couldn't even allow myself to think, well, what if there was a solution? Right. Then my dad, 30-year-old knee injury, Kristy starts to feel better in 10 days. He's doing more in his workouts, and I'm watching it happen. Right. I'm like seeing this occur and like scratching my head going, how is this possible? And they said, look, Danielle, why don't you just try it and give it 6 months? And I was like, guys, I'll just try it to show you that it's not this stuff. Like something else is going on here. So I was not even that open when I started, but I had agreed that, I'd do it. And I didn't have some wow experience initially, but 3 months into using this, all of a sudden the pounding in my head, it stopped. It had been relentless for 2 years. And that stopped. And I started to be able to concentrate again. And I started to have energy again. I wasn't having to nap throughout the day. And I thought, what is going on? And my cognitive therapist said to me, Danielle, I've worked with this type of injury for 30 years, and I've never seen someone have such a rapid, recovery process happen so far out from the initial trauma. She said, with this type of injury, it doesn't happen. And she's the one that said to me, what is that stuff you started drinking? And was the catalyst for me to learn. And I'll tell you what, the biologist in me went crazy, because when I started to learn what this was and how foundational it was to our physical bodies, it's like, if we didn't have redox signaling in our system, we'd be dead in seconds. Because it is the reason that all of our cells can communicate so that we can be, the beings that we are. And it just blew my mind, but I was not open. I'm grateful I had people around me, that were able to say, look, Danielle, what if, my dad basically said to me, Danielle, it cannot hurt. It might help. What do you have to lose? Like, what if this is the missing link? And it's so interesting, because now that I've taken the time to understand it, to learn what it is, how it works, it's like nothing that I was taking. Redox is a replenishment of what your body innately uses to detect damage, detect mutations, allow the system to just constantly be in a state of repair. And you make less as you get older. And so the body has a harder time, staying in its prime, staying in its optimum. It's why, as we get older, like you don't recover as fast from a workout, or something chronic kind of pops up. And with this, it's like, it just puts more back into your system. So like, you can't be allergic to it. It won't contraindicate with things. It's completely non-toxic. And because I started to learn what this was, I thought, man, this is not a nutritional, right? It's not like CBD. It's not like an essential oil. It's not some, shake potion. It's none of these things that are all good. I'm not bashing any of those things, right? All of those have a role, but this was so different. It was like this base that was able to then work with anything else I put into my body. Because I, like you, I was taking a lot of different things, nutritionals and all sorts of different things to just help build up. It's like the right building blocks had to be in my system. Yeah, this was, I think of them like little construction workers that came in and went, all right, we're going to repair here and we're going to repair here. And like woke up the doctor within me to do its job.
It's true. And you talk about the energy, and it's interesting because, that's what I was striving for the most out of everything. I was sold right away because of some of the really gentle detox, reactions that I got when doctors were trying hard to do everything to get my body to detox. It just didn't. So some people have to go many months to be sure, because we don't want to be talking ourselves into it. But I was sold right away, but I was really excited to see the energy. But what was interesting is it was so gentle and natural that I was actually missing the energy that I was gaining. And it wasn't until a couple of other friends that are on it started talking about like they're going for a workout and coming home and cleaning their cupboards. And like you talk about that, not napping. And one night they had to be up for, family reasons for the night. And they just had tons of energy the next day and they were okay. But it was so gentle that all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I should really pay more attention. You would think I was starved for energy that I would notice, but I was noticing napping less and all those kind of things. And I was even like going for a bike ride and then coming home and going, oh, I think I want to go for a little run. And that's what spurred me to, I might be able to get back into triathlons, which I did start training for, which literally was out there. Like that realm of possibility, was so far out of my scope of energy that, I would just be happy not to be napping, let alone have energy to keep doing things. And so it's interesting because I also got that right away because my doctor used to talk about when I was really sick, I would get a spike in energy. I would, of course, do a bunch of stuff because I hadn't had that energy. And then I would crash and it would take weeks and weeks to recover.
Yeah.
And so she would say, your mitochondria has been like triggered, right? They're trying to produce this energy. And so, potentially if we can keep waking them up, they'll keep doing it. And then kind of get back functioning again. But they've been so malfunctioning for so long, they weren't doing that. And so I was caught between two worlds of, well, I really want to do stuff because I have energy, but now I know I'm going to crash and they're never going to, keep recovering. And so I lived in this world of, oh, they're awake and we just drained them. And so it's so refreshing that you actually sometimes, because I'm obviously way earlier in the process than you are, but I'm almost scared for this to be so true. And even though I'm many months in, I'm like, I'm still shocked at, and when you were talking about, talking yourself out of it, it's kind of like, no, that can't be happening. Except I used to say to myself, I used to try and go, okay, well, I think that supplement's helping. Well, maybe now I'm the other way, seeing the symptoms and going, wow, that can't be right. This can't be true. So it's pretty exciting that way. And you just get to a level of too many things are working better that it's just literally got me where.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this goes through, and I think the trick is some people have an expectation of where it's going to work, right? It's like some people will say, well, I want to take this redox so it helps with X. And the reality is the body doesn't know your agenda. The body just knows what's off, in the cellular level. And so this goes in and it starts to repair. I think about it where it's like, where's the biggest fire, right? It goes there first, then it goes to the next and the next. So it might be working on something that you on the system level haven't even noticed yet. And it goes to that first, and then it goes to the next thing and the next thing. So it's like, I'm excited for you because the longer you stay on it, the more it has a chance to repair, and it's interesting too, because like if you're pushing your body, so we talked about athletes. I mean, athletes love this technology. It's approved by the Olympic Committee. All right. Because there's nothing in here that your body, it's not native to you. It's not going to show up on, the drug things that they do. It's totally fine. It's native to the body. So it's just, they're adding more of what their body already knows and knows what to do with. But what it does with athletes is it helps them repair faster. It helps them, do more in their workouts. And it's interesting because athletes require more. They're pushing their bodies. And so I always, like, some people will say to me, well, Danielle, it's not working. And I'm like, well, what is your day-to-day like? Like, what are you doing? And they're one of these people, they're working 15-hour days, they're doing everything they can. They have so much stress in their life. And I'm like, it's helping you just sustain that and the damage that lifestyle is putting on you. Same with people that work out. I'm like, look, if you're working out and pushing your system, it's probably going to be working to repair that initial damage you just did from working out, right? It's good damage, breaking down muscle to build it back up. But you only have, there's only so many construction workers. So where are you going to have them focus? The body's going to go where it deems most necessary first. And so it's interesting where if you are working out and you have a health issue, well, just kind of play with it, right? Take it before you work out if you want to focus it on that. If you want to focus it more on your health, maybe take it in the evening before you fall asleep so it can do that repair at night. Like, there's ways to play with this. But the coolest thing is the topical, which we didn't even talk about. And sitting here behind me, this white tube, what's really neat with it is that you can localize it. So like when you drink it, it goes where your body wants. But with that tube of gel, you tell it where to go. And so let's say it's your shoulder that's bothering you, right? You've got discomfort there. It's not moving like it used to. You can just put the redox 3 times in 5 minutes with that gel. I'll tell you what, I mean, it's incredible. I always tell people, look, get a tube of that gel, find 10 people that, aren't feeling great, have discomfort somewhere in their body, put that on 3 times in 5 minutes and watch what happens to 9 of them. Like, you're going to know this stuff is something special. And then it's like, okay, well, let's try it here. Let's try it here. There's always things that start to pop up.
It's amazing. So a couple of things I want to say to that, because you did once tell me some people want to bathe in it very early on.
Yes.
And I laughed at that, except it's so true. Like, because you're just overwhelmed by all the stuff you want to try. And I was using it on a skin issue on my foot. And it was interesting because then when I was doing my heaviest training for the triathlon, it sort of paused on, it was really fixing this area and I was seeing huge improvements. And then when my training got really heavy, all of a sudden it paused. As soon as the race was over, it cleared it right up. And so it proves what you're just saying, that it really can only heal so much. What amazed me was the muscle recovery after a heavy training session. Like, even, having a background in Lyme, that's a huge issue, is your muscles would just all tighten up and so I was worried from that standpoint, but it was literally better than any muscle recovery I had had when I was really healthy. It's like you didn't even work out. And I know other people that are using this in a gym are finding the same thing, that they're going back to their training going, did you increase my weights at all? Because I think, and it was like, and the trainer was saying, it's kind of hard because we sort of judge our satisfaction on a workout based by how sore we are.
Yes.
If you're not sore anymore, you just don't know. But yeah, it's so cool because, one, if you do have a muscle issue, that gel works unlike any pain like, it's crazy how, like you say, you really do have to do the 3 applications, I find, to, trigger it and get it to work. And it's nice to know, I think once Dr. Silverman said, the more you drink the drink, the less you need the gel. And so it's kind of a cool way to think of it, that, you've got this really quick interim solution. And then meanwhile, you can be taking the drink to heal your whole body as it goes. And it's very much like you say, I find it really working well now on my digestion. So it's kind of moved from, the detoxing to the energy to, and then had to focus on muscle recovery, I think, for a little while.
And the triathlon. Yeah.
Yes. But now it's definitely working on my digestion and seeing huge improvements there. And I, hear a lot of people have that. So yeah, it still has so much work to do. I mean, I can't even imagine what's possible.
And the thing too, though, it's like our bodies are constantly inundated with things. Like, there was a study that the company did with genetic expression, and this really caught my attention because they did it on healthy young people. The average age was like 35 in the study. And what they were looking at was genes and their expression. And they looked at 5 specifically, one with digestive health, one that had to do with cardiovascular health, one was hormone modulation, the innate immune system, and then the inflammatory response. And so these were genes that were tied to those things. And it was interesting. They kind of looked at the expression levels. Then they had a group that didn't change anything. They had a group that they just put on salt water. And then they had a group that they put on the ASEA redox. And after 8 weeks, and these people were drinking 8 ounces a day, I call that the magic 8. So they were drinking 8 ounces a day. There was no shift in the people that, didn't change anything. There was no shift in genetic expression in the saltwater group. But the group on the ASEA redox had a range of 20 to 31%. Everybody had an increase. The amount of the increase ranged from 20 to 31% in the upregulation of these genes. But what was interesting was then they stopped taking the ASEA, they waited, and they tested them again, and their gene expression went down to pre-levels, the same levels they were at before they were taking it. And so what that told me was that, look, our bodies are constantly inundated with things. And, we talked about how when we're working out, we're even pushing our system. So maybe it won't be able to repair that some underlying, health issue if we're pushing in that way. But think about the amount of toxins, stress coming into our world and all the different ways that it does, from the air, we're breathing, the water we're drinking, the food we're eating, everything, the technology, the news. I mean, just emotionally, there's a lot of stress in the world these days. And I just thought, wow, how fascinating that this is. These people didn't feel a difference, right? They couldn't tell anything was going on, but here it was working at this very foundational level to keep things activated. I think about, like, what would it mean if you could keep your, the gene that's controlling your innate immune system more like upregulated? Mm-hmm. Think about the repercussions of that, or the inflammatory response, like keeping that under wraps in the body. Like, whoa. Yeah. I just think that there's so much with this that we'll never know what it was helping us with, because we didn't know there was an issue. But I look at it as like, okay, this is just gonna, like, I'm healthy, I feel good, but I have no idea what this is allowing my system, how it's allowing my system to continue to feel good. Like, what else would have crept up? We just don't know. But to me, it's like, okay, this just makes sense. Let it keep everything on that cellular level turned on, activated, working how it's supposed to, so that nothing creeps up for me to, experience anything else.
Yeah. And I love the whole aspect. Like, really, it's kind of a weird concept for us to sit back and go, okay, body, I'm just going to help you, and you figure out what we need to work on. But it was true when I was really convinced of this, when there was a couple of people, I know often people sort of play with when to take it, when works best for them. And so, I was working with some people on that, and I didn't initially, but I got to the point where I took it right before bed and have the most beautiful sleep. It's, and I wasn't a great sleeper, but someone did that and they were up for quite a few hours. And so I said to them, well, like, were you settling down for the night? What, and really the question is, have you started producing melatonin? Right. Mm-hmm. And because I believe it's been scientifically proven that it boosts the melatonin production. And so really it's going to boost whatever mode your body's already in. And so as soon as they made sure that they sort of did their nighttime routine, settled down, were kind of calm, it worked for their sleep too, so amazingly. But we even had the reverse with someone who said it was interesting because they were really early risers during the week for work. And so they said it's actually giving them more energy on the weekend, and they couldn't figure it out. Well, what we figured out was they were taking it as soon as they got up in the early mornings, like, so almost still technically in bed. And it was really early. So they were sort of in, zombie mode still a little bit. And then on the weekend, they were taking it a little bit later when they were up and going and weren't as rushed. And so they started taking it then all the time once they were up and going. And I think someone asked them what they were doing, because they were talking like way faster and way more energy that within a couple of days. And so it's cool because it really is just helping your body do whatever. It also proves that we need to be conscious of the signals and messages we tell our body, because it's reacting to those, and this is boosting those. So I think it's very important for us to, be conscious of our self-talk, be careful of, even that we're taking care of ourselves if we do need a rest or whatever our body's telling us to need. But I also think it's a great time to really focus on positive messaging, because I feel ASEA is going to magnify that, because it's magnifying everything,
It is. No, it totally is. And there was a woman, and I forget who it was now, and I wish I could give her credit for it, but she said to me, well, Danielle, I'm writing my intention on the bottle of ASEA. Like what I want this to do for me, I'm literally writing it on the bottle. And then because you have to squish it in your mouth, right, for 30 seconds. Right. And she said, as I'm squishing, I'm just repeating this intention, visualizing it happening in my body, and just letting it know what its job is to go and do. And there is so much to the power of the mind. I mean, so much to it. I learned it on my journey with my injury, right? It was a switch in my own mindset. It was a switch in my own thoughts that allowed the anxiety to go away, the depression to go away, for me to have a more grateful heart, to be happier. It was like, holy cow, this is a choice. And also the thoughts I'm having were causing certain reactions in my body, right? If we're having negative thoughts, like we can feel it in our system. We can almost make ourselves cry, just through thinking. So why not do the opposite, right? That's where I just went, oh, okay. So if I can go that direction and spiral down, why not spiral up? Why not just have joy, have gratitude, like be in the space of love? If you're in that space, it's more powerful. And what I've learned and what I've seen too is it doesn't just shift our own system, like it touches everybody around us too. Starts to lift them up. They're not even sure why, but they're attracted to wanting to be around you. And it's like, yeah, it's because you're keeping yourself at this higher vibration by feeding your mind the right things. So I've gotten very conscious of what I even allow myself to hear and be around, because it's just like everything picks it up in my system, and I just know like that's not where I want to go. I want to just have positivity, right? So I play certain types of music throughout the day. Like recently I've been playing this beautiful just piano, and it's so nice. Like it just kind of lifts your spirit. It's calming. But it's so important what you're thinking, the intention you're having. And I love what that woman told me about how she's using the power of thought and the mind and intention. And even what was the study where they put messages on water, and it changed the state of the water. And I thought, wow, so you're literally messaging into this, this liquid, what it is that you're wanting. And it has an intelligence, right, to go into your system and do. So just so much with that.
I guess it was a Dr. Emoto did the studies and the water crystals form. And it's interesting because when we're talking about nutrition, I often talk about grace before you eat, because it had the same purpose, right? That gratitude's a high vibrational emotion that can also then triggers your body to also digest it better and improve your metabolism. So all of those things help you take it in more. So the whole intention thing would only make sense that our body would receive the ASEA better when you do it. That's really cool. So we should talk just quickly about some of the fundamentals of it then too, because there's lots of people I know that I'm working on, and they're applying it to their wellness and health regime. Finding a lot of people, Dr. Silverman often recommends people start with 8 bottles so that they can work towards the magic 8. I find a lot of people do well to sort of build up to that. And then a couple of gels, because I actually just didn't really even think I wanted the gels, and I didn't even use it for a little while. I was so focused on getting the inside healthy. And then once I started, I'm like, what was I waiting for? Exactly. I waited way too long for that. So I'm loving all of it. So I know that one of the packages comes with a couple of gels too, but literally, I think if you could give some people some advice, because I think we do doubt that it could be or that it could be true. I think we also don't often understand or recognize how true healing happens in our body. And then the big thing with this is there's just no repercussion to trying.
Right. It's like my dad said, Danielle, it's not going to hurt you. It might help you. Why wouldn't you try? You've stayed open to everything else, right? You're still not better. you need to keep trying to find your solution. And I thought, okay, there's wisdom there.
Yes.
But my recommendation is give it time. It's always a play of the amount and time. I think about it like a house that has, repairs. Like as a home gets older, stuff falls apart. Same with our bodies. And so the question is, well, how many construction workers are coming to the job site every day, and how much repair is needed, right? That's gonna inform us, well, how long is it gonna take for us to get back to the optimum? It's the same with our body, right? And so that is a function of your age. If you're older, there's just less construction workers coming. And if you have a lot of damage, like I did, from this car accident, there's a lot of work to be done. Yeah. So I look at it as like, all right, the more construction workers you put on the job, the faster this will get done. And so, yeah, we usually tell people, look, start with 4 ounces a day for a couple of days, because it does produce more like your body's glutathione production. It's just, there's more of it. Okay. The NRF2 pathway gets activated. It's one of the genes I talked about in that whole study. Pathway signaling gene EGR1 turns this on. And so glutathione helps the body detoxify, helps the body deal with inflammation. And like you experienced, the body can start to process some things out, which is great. Sometimes if you start right at 8 ounces, it's a lot. And so we say, all right, just, build up to it. 4 ounces a day for a few days is fine. Then you can go up to 8. And then just play with it. See how your system is feeling. Back down, go back up. You can't overdo it. I mean, there's people going through severe health issues that are drinking 2 ounces every 2 hours, right? They're going through a lot of this stuff, and there's no toxic amount that can build up. So it's just a matter of like, well, how fast do you want the repair to happen? Right? The more you put in, the faster that's going to happen. And we typically see like maybe 10-15% of people in the first week have an experience like you did, like, oh wow, something's shifting, like for you it was a detox. I didn't notice anything. Right. I was like, wow, this stuff's a scam. But month 1, we see like 50-60% of people are able to go, you know what, this changed. At 3 months, it's where 90% of people drinking the liquid are going, whoa, this definitely had this shift. And for me, it was around 90 days also. But I'm telling you, the gel is where you can it's like instant gratification. Okay. Because you can put this stuff on your skin. Like it was designed for skin health. It was designed to help damaged cells in your skin to, repair faster, get younger ones in there. So you can see a difference in your skin, wrinkles, elasticity, cellulite. They did a study with that. But like I talked about earlier, rub it on an area of discomfort. See what it might be able to bring you. All it's doing is amplifying the call for help there. You're localizing it. And so you can watch what happens when you localize the alert call to a certain area. You'll feel the experience. And so I tell everybody, look, get the gel, get enough liquid so you can get the right experience here. You can know that this is real. You can see what it's bringing your body. And then you can adjust from there, however it is that you want to continue on with it.
Sorry about that.
Yes, okay.
Awesome. So could you also then just briefly talk about the whole redox molecule part of it, like what those are, what they do, and how they're formed?
Yeah, so this is what I mean. I went nuts because my brain loves this sort of thing. For the average person, it might be too much, but I'll share. So redox, just simply put, redox stands for reductants and oxidants. And these molecules are actually made in your mitochondria. So your body is basically saline. Okay. Our cells are little sacks of saline. If you went to the ER, they'd hook you up to a drip of saline, right? We cry salty, we sweat salty. That's what we are. And so the body, in its beautiful intelligence, it makes a lot of different molecules using the sodium and chloride from salt and the hydrogen and oxygen from water. And so what happens is different combinations of those 4 are put together. I think one that everyone's very familiar with is like hydrogen peroxide. It's H2O2. Water is just H2O, right? One more oxygen, we have a very different molecule. And those molecules are known as reductants and oxidants. The reductants are the ones that end up net negative. The oxidants end up with a net positive charge. And constantly in our mitochondria, your body is making these reductants and oxidants, just combining, these different things, superoxide, hydrochloride, right? All these things. Those molecules are known as redox molecules. That's what this huge body of science is now out there with. Every top university is studying these molecules because they're realizing these play a major role in the pathways that govern all communication in the body. And so what happened with ASEA is that they simply figured out how to make the same molecules outside your body, which was thought to be absolutely impossible because these molecules are very reactive. There's a positive and a negative. Usually when you have those things together, there's a reaction that occurs. It's like having hot and cold water in the same vessel and it not getting lukewarm. I mean, that's what they've done. So when we say it is a breakthrough akin to penicillin, akin to the discovery of DNA, people say there's no way. It's too good to be true, right? You're blowing smoke. I'm like, no, you have no idea what they have been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the implication of what that means for you to then bring it back into your body and for your body to recognize it, take it up immediately, allow it to go to work as if it was making it like you did when you were young. It's unbelievable. So that's what it is. I mean, so what's in there, it started as saline. So you look at the ingredient panel, it can be a little confusing because it says sodium chloride and water. It's the same thing that it starts out as in the body, right? Remember that H2O. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is a 3.5-day process. There's actually a brilliant website. People can go and they can actually go to the production facility, watch a 5-minute tour, see how it's produced. It takes them 3.5 days to do what our body does in nanoseconds.
Wow.
But they still figured it out. And so then you can use it and allow your system to operate like it did when you were younger. It's like, who wouldn't want to feel younger? Who wouldn't want their system to be able to repair quickly? I think it's kind of a fun thing to play with. Like if someone takes flowers, and Kristy, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but like you could take, I don't know, get a dozen roses, put them in water, get a dozen roses, put them in a sea. Guess which ones are going to stay vibrant and bright longer? And it's because as the breakdown starts to happen, what does redox do? It brings it back, right? It starts repairing the breakdown. Mm-hmm. And so things last longer. It's like you stay younger longer. It's like, it's a statement that I think some people would laugh at, but I'm like, no, the truth behind that statement is so powerful. And that's what we have our hands on.
I literally did that with flowers. So yep, I can validate it. Yep. I think you said that once, so I had to test it out. I really, the science behind of it really amazes me. It's almost so simple that it's mind blowing. And, and yet it is so complex because it does go through this process that no one ever thought was possible to make it so that we could get it at our house and take it ourselves. So it is pretty amazing, but it's also great to just understand that aspect of what our body is doing and how it heals. And, even sometimes people have noticed a spike in one of their symptoms for a couple hours or something like that. And we don't even realize that that's triggering that symptom to heal it. It's the same reason we have swelling when we hurt something, because everything's been triggered to go there to help heal it. And once we understand that, people can actually see the redox molecules working, because when you understand that's what the healing is and looks like, it's like, oh, wow. So I said, people have come around to this world of excited when something's triggered in their body. But they do, then they find like it goes away. And so we get all scared about, oh, I'm noticing that symptom, but it's such a cool feeling to realize it's actually going away. It's just not coming and going. So it's fun. You also once said to me that once you start to get the testimonials from people, that it's just a huge boost of energy, because people are getting relief. They're just like, oh, this is possible. I can see, a better life ahead. I can see resolve from some of these issues. And it's so true that I'm always kind of checking up with people, because it's so exciting when they're so excited. So it's nice. Anyway, I have appreciated all your encouragement in this, because it's hard to even share it with people because I'm just not that kind of person. But you do feel like you can't not.
Yes, I swear it's like this bottle should have a stamp that says you're now responsible.
Yes.
Like, once you actually realize what you have your hands on, it's like, how dare you not tell somebody? Like you can change somebody's life. And I think I told you, like, you'll get paid in goosebumps with what you watch this do for people. It's been my reality for over 6 years. And it's like, I will never stop because it's just like, holy cow. And people just don't know about it. It's like maybe 1% of people are even aware that this is out there. And it's like 99% of the population is probably praying, looking, asking for something. And here it is, this pretty blue bottle. They have no idea. And they have no idea that's going to come through us. And I think some people's question, the other thing that I hear questioned a lot is like, why can't I buy it at the store? Why don't I see a commercial about this? And it's like, well, the reason is that originally a pharmaceutical company came in to purchase this technology, and their intent was to not bring it out to market. And we are just blessed that the gentleman in charge of the patents, who owned the patents, he said, you know what, this is something humanity deserves to have. And this is something that we want to make sure gets out there. And so he walked away from this buyout, and he had to actually take some time to figure out, well, how do you get a breakthrough to market? How do you get something that looks like salt water, you know, into the hands of people where they actually take it seriously and understand what it can do? And he landed on word of mouth, because the word of mouth business, if you think about any business, referrals are the lifeblood. It's how they keep going. You know, we refer our favorite shampoo, our favorite restaurant, our favorite movie, like all the time. But this is now your favorite health product. Right. And so people, they trust you, they listen in a different way. You know, I think we're so also just like, it's like I mute out any commercial, any ad, whatever. I think we're so over it. We're inundated with them. So it's like hearing it from a friend, you're more open. And so they've been doing that for 12 years. I mean, this is in 33 countries. It's like, this is massive, but I think people expect to hear like it on the news. When was the last time you heard good news on the news? Like, it's like, you're not going to hear it there. So, you know, pay attention. If this, I always believe like this crosses people's path when it's meant to. If you're listening to our conversation right now, if you are here at the end with us, it's because this is resonating. So go say yes, get in touch with Kristy, figure out what it is that you need that's going to help you, your family member, whoever it is, because somebody else's name probably dropped in too. They're meant to have this. They're meant to be aware of it. And we just want people to be educated. You know, you don't know what you don't know. So discover it, learn about it. And then ultimately it's like the proof's in the pudding, right? It's going to do something different for your body. So let's see what it's going to do.
Yeah. And I'm very committed to working with people, because I think, it's really important to learn how it works in the body, what's going on in your body, you know, when we're talking about when to take it, how much to take. And so I'm very committed to the people who do contact me about it and guide them, especially for those first few months, because I think that's important to get the most out of it. But yeah, I'm working with people that were dealing with chronic illness just like me, as well as people that are getting into heavy training. And it's like, everybody has the same level of gratitude once they get going with it, because they just can't believe it can help them. So yeah, I know that it's exciting when my greatest desire has always been to do work that will help make people feel better and enjoy life more. And I really think that this is a foundational piece of that I have yet to come across someone I couldn't imagine not wanting to do it, you know? So I do encourage everybody to contact me. All my information will be down below on the video. I have a website, Out of the Woods with a Z or Z. .ca, and I also leave my number, because most of the time it's just easier to chat about it and see how it can apply directly in your life. And because I do think it's important to have that contact and coaching along with this. And I know, Danielle, you do a lot of, you know, wellness living sort of inspirational work too. So where can people find you? You're kind of Instagram, you have a website too?
I do, yeah. So we can, I can send you the links, you can put it underneath, but it's just my name. So I have an _ Danielle Matthews _ that's what I am on Instagram, and my website is brainbodyself.com. And yeah, you know, it's like, I just want to share what I learned in my journey to help other people on theirs. And a lot of it is the mindset that comes along with it. And then of course, this incredible technology. And you're a gift, Kristy, to those that are looking at this, like reach out, have a conversation with her. She's invested in helping you get your best health back and then live the life that you're meant to live. And this is a piece that's going to help you do that. So Kristy, I'm just so grateful that our lives crossed paths, that, you know, this resonated with you in such a big way, and you're helping other people learn about it.
Thank you. Well, I do feel very blessed to have come across this tool and mentors like you. So yeah, and all I can do is know that I'm here to help if people want it. And the best way to find out whether it can or not is to contact me and we chat about it. But it's also great knowing that there's just a surplus of great resources like yourself and the naturopaths and the doctors that are all involved with this. There's a medical board that oversees all of the work that goes on with it. And they provide Zoom calls, a couple a week, 3, I guess, or even more at sometimes. So there's a lot of great resources to help people through all of this. So yeah, it's a great group to be associated with. So thank you for doing this, and we'll chat soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Kristy.